Without further ado, please welcome our first panel of the day. Welcome back, Tim and Varun.
Morning. Hi.
So I heard you were down here partying last night. There was a rumour.
We tried to make it to the dance floor, but then we got surrounded. It was amazing. I'm so happy there's people in this room.
Brave ones that got up really early to come in. This is going to be like the best panel. I hope you guys have got some really good questions. But just to start things off, you're kind of like bromance on the show. It's just like...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's a shame, because I was going to ask you about it. Like, where did that kind of like come from? And were you kind of surprised when that was the direction that Emily was going in? And can you just talk a little bit about working together?
Oh.
While I drink my tea.
Tim, I feel you have insights. Well, I really like it. I think it could have been explored more, to be honest. We don't get enough stuff together, and when we do, it's really like some of my favorite stuff ever was when Dolls and Doc and Jeremy get bound together, and we can't. It was just I don't know, super fun, and it's like my stuff with Jeremy is fun, so Doc needs more fun stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he's too serious sometimes, so I like at least. But this year was like great. I'm just gonna rant. I felt like Waverly in season 2 had such a great journey that Jeremy in season 3 had like a Waverly journey where he became someone like just, you know what I mean? Because like Waverly was so innocent season 1 that I felt Jeremy's character I'm just gonna talk about you. Character season 2 was so innocent, but then by 3, like I'm watching it and I'm watching him like stand up to Wynonna and Doc and like give us shit. And I was like, get him. And that made me really happy. That doesn't answer your question, but that made me happy. And I wonder, I think Emily also kind of looks at us on and off screen, and so Tim and I have become pretty great friends. Would you say so, Tim? No. Okay. But yeah, no, we just like, I think she knew that we work really well together, and so anytime we do have a Doc Jeremy scene, we really try and infuse it with some sort of fun or like a little bit, you know? We want to do a little comedy bit in there or some sort of Doc Jeremy moment that's not written, just because it really makes us really happy.
Right, so I was going to ask actually about like, you're allowed to ad-lib then, you're allowed to kind of like create on set, and I mean, I know writers don't generally want you to do that probably, but there is some freedom when you're filming.
To be honest, we're up here and one of us follows the rules to the T, and one of us is a rule breaker. This is the rule breaker. It's not me. I'm just like a little good soldier, and I'm like, yes, okay, I will say these things on the paper, and I will try and say what you want me to say. And Varun wants to play. He's a comedic actor, and he wants to find moments and beats, so that's where the stuff kind of comes from. And then I just react to what the crazy stuff Varun's doing. But most of his stuff doesn't make it in. I mean, the thing about ad-libbing and improv is you gotta just try. Because you have to go for it, even if you're gonna fail. And there's like this fine line of like, you're trying to be funny, or it's funny for the scene, but you don't know until you attempt it. And so, I don't know, it's easier to do with Tim too, because, I don't know, it's fun to mess with people when you're doing a scene. Mel does it too, like she'll do a reaction or say a line that's not in the script that just kind of throws you off, and you're gonna laugh and you don't know how to respond, and so your response line is different. And I kind of try and do that with Tim because, I don't know, I get a kick out of it. Yeah, one of my favorite experiences of the year was actually when Doc finally meets Robin and Jeremy for the first time. We were outside. It's kind of because Varun and I had worked together, but Justin and I hadn't, and he didn't know what Doc does either, and we were doing this scene, and I could see in his face, like, what the f*** is this happening? Okay. And then they're so good together because Justin is like Varun, and they're both comedic, and then you did like that thing at the end where you went to the wrong door of the car each, and you didn't know what to do, which is all ad-libbed, and it was super funny, and they both did it. And I'm like, oh, and then I had this moment inside me, I'm like, he actually has a better partner. Like than Doc, and like not just in the thing, but for the acting.
Right.
I could see they feed off, like they're gonna work super good together because they both wanted. It was good. It was this nice little moment I had inside, and I was sitting there mulling, smoking a cigarette. I don't smoke, by the way, and I was like, hell. They were doing their funny stuff, and I was like, oh, this is good actually. This is where it's supposed to go.
You always see Tim like off screen looking wistfully at any comedy scene, just hoping that he could get in on it. But it never happens.
You don't get as much comedy, it's fair to say, as the others.
Well, the best part about Wynonna is, yeah, you do, which is nice, you know? It's like, even in the most serious scene of probably my career, the end of 307, when Wynonna won't let Doc vamp in the house, there's still the over-joke on my end, right in there, and Mel's got a couple of zingers still in there at me. So that's what's lovely about the show, is there's always something comedic and funny.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Do we have some questions from you, starting at the back? Yeah, we've got a volunteer coming down with the microphone. You had your hand up first in the middle of that row, and then I'm going to do a lot of pointing again. I'm sorry, I know it's rude, but...
Hi, I have different questions for the both of you. Because Doc, I really like the way Doc speaks in the series, and I like it in the comics as well. So I was just wondering, does it come naturally to you now, Tim, or like how does that work for you? And for Varun, I really like all the references. Do you ever get the chance to bring any in yourself, or do you have to Google anything at all?
On my part, I'm an actor, so I'm supposed to be able to do accents, like a wide array of them. I can't do any. Absolutely awful.
He spent a week practicing for an Australian accent for an audition, and Don was trying to teach him. It got progressively worse, if that is possible.
It got so bad that I just couldn't even do the tape. And it was for a big part, but I'm like, it's worse for me to send this, because these casting people like me right now. If I send this tape, they're going to know me as... Put down under, mate. Oh, the frisbee, raccoon. And I can't do it, but thank you. But for some reason, the Southern Georgian cowboy is a voice I've been doing my whole life as a kid. For some reason, I don't know. I loved Western movies, and I always knew how to talk like a cowboy. So that was the only one. It was just, sometimes it's hard not to believe in stuff like fate. It's hard not to. Sometimes it's like I believe that I put things in the universe, and then the universe brings those things to you. And I believe that, and sometimes it's hard not to believe in that, especially where I'm sitting right now. So that was just a voice I could always do. I knew who that character was way before that part came, and it just happened. It's just there.
For Jeremy and the references, I don't really have an input into the references. It's always a surprise to me how many shows Jeremy has consumed at this point. Like, when does he find the time to watch any of this? Like, he's Game of Thrones fan, he's Walking Dead, he's Buffy, he's like, every single show is somehow, he's watched everything, and he can out-nerd anybody. But I kind of like the idea that he's always referencing something outside of this show, because it gives this like show within a show meta that I really enjoy. Like, somehow Purgatory is a real place, if you can believe it. And so, I don't know, I just enjoy a lot of the references he does, because it always surprises me as well.
What's his favorite One Direction song?
What was that song I was dancing to? What is that? Yeah, is it All My Life?
I don't know what it's called, but I know what you're on about.
Yeah.
classic tune trying to kind of...
Was that our first scene of season 3?
That was our first scene of season 3, I think.
Dancing.
Yeah, I was had to dance in front of everybody. It was so embarrassing. Our director Paolo like set up all the rehearsal. The crew is watching us, and he's like, "Okay, Jeremy dances, go." And I'm like, "Wait, I'm not gonna dance in front of everybody. Are you crazy? I'll just do it on the day." He's like, "No, we need to see this. We need to see. Okay, so dance." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I started doing this weird like hip movement, and everyone just saw how I couldn't dance, and it went on way longer than the scene constituted. I think just to make fun of me.
No, 100%.
Oh, okay, there, yeah.
The nice part was it's one of those scenes where I start behind the camera, so I can just watch, and I know it's not going to end until I enter frame. So I can just kind of hang back, and we just started, and he's got their headphones, he's doing it. His, I don't know, his twerk 2.0. Oh.
My arms aren't connected to my legs. It's like I don't know how to dance with both of them.
It was great.
Yeah.
Got some more questions. There was some hands going up. If we can come down to the lady in the white t-shirt and then back to the lady in the red jeans.
Hi.
Yeah, good at this.
First of all, thank you very much for being the actors you are, because you're amazing.
Thank you.
And my question is for both of you, which is your most, not fulfilling, but like the best scene you've ever filmed, you know, like for you? The one you like the most?
There's so many, honestly, so many, but I think for Wynonna Earp, it was just the first moment in Shorties when I meet Mel for the first time. It was the first scene I ever shot was Doc and Wynonna meeting for the first time ever, and I was in the Old West character, and I'm playing Doc Holliday, because it was such a surreal moment to be playing such an iconic character that as a kid I would have done anything. I was a cowboy on a set, dressed in it, and I'm like, this is it. This is the best it's gonna get, ever. I mean, nothing's better than this right now. And I had that lean and waiting, and I saw the gun, and I looked at Wynonna, and the scene happened, and it was lovely, and then there was a focus puller guy who's like making sure we're always in focus, and as the scene ends, he goes, and I felt really good, and I was super happy. So there was like just something about that scene as a whole, of being there in that moment, that was just super special.
My favorite scene was actually the end of season 2 with Bobo, Doc, and Jeremy. That was like my first kind of meeting of Michael Eklund. He is an entity unto himself. That guy is so interesting to act with. And Tim, the whole day, was like preparing me. He's like, "You ready for Mikey? You ready to act with Mikey?" I'm like, "Okay, whatever, man, I got this." He's like probably just a normal dude, whatever. And then I see him, and he's like in character, and he's like Bobo, he's growling, he's making animal noises, he's like flinging around his like weird medical suit that he had on, and I'm just like, I don't want to mess with this guy at all.
That was the best day. I already knew Mikey for a year at that point. I was so ready, but I knew he wasn't ready. Because you can't explain what it is exactly. The gift it is to work with Michael Eklund.
Yeah.
And he's wonderful, yeah. And remember, he had those weird long arms that he was
Yes.
used to. He wanted to figure out his new body and character. And he's like in the snow at the bottom of a cliff, and Jeremy it's like, what's happening? But I thought you killed it. I thought it brought like a
Well, it
great
did. I was
level.
genuinely afraid. I didn't need to act. But it was like a fun moment because it was a triumphant moment, and that's why I really enjoyed it. Where it's like where Jeremy kind of conquered his own fears, and then he was helpful to the group with telling Doc where the baby was, and it was kind of like a cool ending to their relationship for that season, where they're like friends.
You rescued me with a ray gun.
Yeah, exactly. I shot a ray gun.
Pretty cool.
And so that was a really fun experience. Yeah.
And we had another question right there. Thank you.
Hi. So as an actor, like personal traits and mannerisms can come through in a character, but have you ever met anyone in your lives that had a particular mannerism or characteristic that you then applied to a role?
I mean, I guess my dad, but I didn't want that. And it's funny, but it's like the more and more I realize as I'm growing up, I'm just becoming him. But he was actually a really good guy. Now that I look back, he's really funny, and he's kind of goofy, and he's nice. But as a kid, I was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna be like this guy. What's wrong with him? And now I'm like, yeah. Like, and my dad writes poems, and like he's got like a Buddha garden in the backyard.
And they're also the cutest poems because there's spelling errors in all of them.
Which is harder for my other brother, who's an English major. But it's like, my whole life, I'm never going to be a guy who wants a Buddha garden and rocks in my backyard, and now I'm like, you know, it'd be nice. A Buddha garden with a little water and some rocks. But, yeah.
That's so funny you say your dad, because I feel the same way about mine. Like, I just think, like, my dad is such a goofy, funny guy. Like, when he talks to white people, he puts on a Jamaican accent, and he doesn't, like, know he's doing it. He's just in his own kind of funny world, like, you know, and I would watch him, and I'd be like, he doesn't know he's funny. Well, what makes him so funny? And it's like I'm almost studying all the things he does that just makes him funny. And so I would take those things and imbue it into comedy. And I think that's a big reason why I like it so much, because like it was just so much laughter when I was a kid, because he just doesn't know that he's funny. And he's the most random guy in the world. Like all his emails end with like a phone number. Like I don't remember my home phone number. Like I call him back. All my voice messages like, "This is your father calling," in case you didn't know. Like I don't know. He's such a kooky guy. And so yeah, I think him as well.
Exactly. I get the same messages. It's your father.
Yeah.
Your father calling. How's my son? S-U-N. Never S-O-N. Son. But I've studied his mannerisms of he doesn't realize that he's interesting.
Yeah.
And that was I found interesting. So it was my first character study is that guy.
Yeah. So funny.
We've got a question there, striping top waving, and then we'll go to the ones behind you where you are.
Hello, good morning. As an actual Australian, that accent was alright.
Oh no, did he offend you?
My question is a little bit of backstory. We were at the Emily workshop on Friday, and one of the exercises we had to do was talking about writing a scene for a body swap episode. And, a few people actually chose Wynonna and Jeremy to body swap to see the dynamic between Doc, Jeremy, and Wynonna. So we obviously all had our own impressions of what the characters would do. How do you think your characters would react to that body swap situation?
That body swap episode has so much potential, you know?
I think the body swap that has to happen is Jeremy and Wynonna.
Yeah, there's no question. And it's the best part is, like, as actors, Melanie will make fun of me so hard with Jeremy.
I don't know. I think Melanie's such a great actress, but that might be a challenge. That might actually be the first challenge would be Jeremy, because I don't think you realize, like your dad, when you're funny, which is funny. Because as your friend, when you're trying to be funny, you're not funny. Your jokes are like, to me, they're like comedic jokes that probably work on TV, but I'm like, but in other times, when he's not trying to be funny, he's funny. And
the sad thing is, he's right.
Those are the moments. Hurts. So I don't know, is he funny? And I don't know if Mel can, I think she could, if anybody could, but I think it should be harder than you think. You'd be harder to do than you think.
Which, would you like to do?
I think Mel would be very difficult to do. I mean, I think anybody in the cast would be quite hard. You know who would be fun to do? Bobo.
Yeah.
If Doc and Bobo switched, that would be super interesting.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that episode.
Yeah, we gotta do that episode. Did she say she's gonna do it?
Was this Emily getting ideas for this?
What else was talked about at this writing workshop?
Okay, we've got a question that was behind you. Yeah, you. Thanks.
I just want to say thank you for coming last night. It was so nice to see you guys. And my question is, what's your favourite improv line that didn't actually make it into the show?
That didn't make it into the show. So many.
I have none because I honestly stay on book as most as humanly possible. I'm too scared.
Are you vegan was an improv line at the end of thing, at the end of with the Robin in episode 4, and I don't really, I don't know. I don't have a good memory for this stuff. Sorry.
Is there any scenes that kind of like you filmed them longer and then when we see them on screen they've been, you know, shortened and it was something like, I acted that really well and they cut it out?
100%. And there was the Zoe Palmer's, Jolene's appearance, that dessert table night was insanity.
Yeah.
Someone should have filmed the behind the scenes of that night because it was like 2 a.m. We were all wacko bazacco. And like honestly, everyone was going crazy. Even the director, he like took the thing off the camera and like we just had a lens and it was getting weird and it's like, oh my god, that's crazy. And we're like, what's happening in the scene? Like you're eating the cookies, you all, hey Waverly, go. And more crazy, and we didn't know what's happening. Right. And we all went nuts. And then when I saw it, it's still crazy. But it's like 2% of the 100% of craziness that was actually occurring on that night.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thanks. Okay, some more hands are going up. Okay, I'm going to bring, you can do a little bit of running for me. We start there and then we're going to come down here and then we're going to do something else vaguely in front of me. It's a late night.
Hi.
So I was just wondering, is there anything that you find hard as an actor, like certain scenes or like emotions that you have to play out?
For me, it's what Varun does so well. And that's comedy and the beats of comedy. I'm really not good at it. People need to understand that comedic acting is a science. It's like math equations, and I'm not good at that math. So whereas drama or feelings of pain or is easier for me in some way to portray. Whereas some people find it harder to feel certain things. That's easy for me to do, but to be comedic in like the beats of like a comedy, I find hard. Varun knows what's going to be funny in a scene before I even get to the scene, whereas I don't know. I'm just not as gifted at
I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. I feel like you're the greatest straight man ever, and I think that is like one of the most crucial roles in comedy. Like, is to react properly, you require timing. And so, I don't know, like even that little thing with the hand, like when we're doing when we were putting our hands on each other's legs with the Christmas tree, like Jeremy's still making a move, that's like beat, 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 you know, like these are things that you just have to have in you, and I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, Tim.
I think you're underestimating the amount of credit I gave to you.
Oh, there it is. Oh, great.
And yeah,
I don't know. I think physicality is always such a challenge for me. I don't know. I think it's such a big requirement to understand movement and how you physically interact in the space as a character. And I'm still learning to be better about it. Because I'm always like kind of up here, which works for Jeremy. But there are moments where it's like you need, like, what does a brave stance look like? What does this moment kind of embody, like, which you do so well, I think, with like how Doc is so commanding when he like shoots a gun, or like, you know, like there is this air of like I've done this a million times. But for me, physicality is like I have to practice what that feels like because I don't know what that actually is. And so physicality is quite challenging to me as an actor.
And we had this question from the front.
Hi. This is more about
like you guys and the characters. So last night when you came in and you didn't even make it to the dance floor, I don't know if you were aware, but most of the dance floor kind of just like sort of froze and just sort of stood there rocking, staring at you guys. And when you guys walk around, like mostly it's just people partly staring like, oh my god. Is it different in the UK? Like, it's not just English, we've got people from everywhere, but is it different compared to when you're at places in America? Do people behave differently, or do all fans sort of freeze up?
God, I'm so biased. I love European Earpers right now. You guys are amazing.
He literally was talking about it at dinner, just that how great you guys are.
Yeah, just so respectful and polite and great at conversations, and I don't know, it's all the things I wish I could be. It's just amazing. I think there's such an incredible vibe here. You know, and Tim, you told me about it too. It's like it's a different experience to North America, and not that North Americans are bad. Okay, I'm one of them, but it's a different energy, different kind of. I'm getting something different from it, and I really am enjoying it.
And for this, on the same note, it's like I got so fortunate last year to literally go around the world, meeting Earpers and people like that. Just the fact that there's a word Earper.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's why we're here. That's why we were in the New York Times. Not because of us, but because of you.
Yeah.
Because of what this fandom has become, what it represents. And, you know, like this show's going to end and Varun and I will hopefully still be friends and whatever.
Yeah, because we're best friends, right?
When the show ends. But the show will end and our characters will end, but friendships and relationships made it, these things won't. And just the power of what you guys have created is in so many ways more powerful than what we did. We made a little show about stuff and we try and do stuff, but this fandom and what you guys have done is incredible and inspiring. And I mean that. I've been touched so many times in my life by experiences that I've seen happen between other people here or that I got to be a part of that were life-changing. And I'm saying on the same note of why I went around the world, it's like, yeah, everybody's a little different, but everybody's an Earper. It's an Earper. It's so crazy. I went to Australia, and the fans I met, there was no doubt you're an Earper. And it's not about the way a person looks or act. It's just, I know right away in the way that they act towards me or talk to me, I'm like, this is an Earper. And I'm going to tell you, man, the world's better because of Earpers. It's just a better place.
Just to add to that, I think what I feel here is like courage, and I mean courage in the sense that everyone here is vulnerable, and it's kind of the most incredible thing to talk to people who have their vulnerabilities on their sleeve, because I think I'd say we do as well, right? And I don't know, it's such a gift to be able to talk to such courageous people that are unafraid to just be themselves, and yeah, thank you for that.
Another question before I start crying. It's like amazing. Yeah.
My question is actually for Varun. I'm sure I've seen you somewhere before. How was your scene with Mel at the bar when you actually finally got to do just you and Melanie in the bar playing pool, her teaching you how to play, and that scene was amazing, so it must have been great for you.
Oh, yeah, how was it? I loved acting with Mel. That was like the first time we got to do kind of a Jeremy, Wynonna are sort of friends now. Like they're gossiping about Doc, she's teaching him how to play pool, which he's not a physical guy, so I'd like to think that she called him up after calling everyone else and like getting the idea like, hey, do you want to hang out and get a beer? Maybe. And so, I don't know, I think their friendship is going to be something special because it's actually, you're watching the start of a new friendship. You know, it's not kind of this lived-in thing. Like, he doesn't look up to Wynonna in the same way he looks up to everyone else, simply because Wynonna really doesn't think much of him a lot of the time. So, I don't know, I think it's going to be such an interesting area to navigate. And I also like that Jeremy can be sassy to her. And he's never sassy to anybody. Well, I guess him now, but it's just, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and I really was happy how it turned out. Yeah.
Some more questions. We've got one just here. Someone who's nearest. Yeah, because I ran you around yesterday, you guys.
Hi there. I was wondering if you could change characters in the show with anyone, male or female. What would you choose to do? And can we see a little bit of you reenacting them?
God.
Well,
Should we just do each other?
I can't.
I'll attempt to do you. I'm so bad at it. This is why the body swap will never work. You were saying you're bad at accents. I can't do a single accent. Okay, ready? Oh, hi, Wynonna. Do you want to go on a date? Oh, God, no.
That was a really, really good Forrest Gump. Fudge. I can't do Jeremy, that's impossible. I'll do my favorite character. Eat shit, chicken! But you should all know that I think unanimously for all of us, we all secretly love Greg Lawson's Nedley.
Oh, yeah.
We all love our Nedley. He's just such a little warm cup of coffee. He's so good. He's such a wonderful man and actor too. He's great.
Some more questions? Yes, we go.
Hi guys. So now we know that Nicole loves like Golden Girl trivia. I was wondering, what is your go-to trivia?
Oh, wow. That's good. God. It used to be Lord of the Rings. I used to like really study it when I was a kid. I love like the mythology of it. And then Harry Potter as well. Yeah, I used to study the crap out of that. So one of those two. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm super lucky. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a movie called The Avengers. That's pretty much based on, I had a copy of the Infinity Gauntlet. I had all the 6 single issues back when I was a kid, but then I also, in the graphic novel, I always had that book with me, the Infinity Gauntlet. Because if you don't know, that's all the movies you're watching right now are based on a comic book that a lot of us have been waiting for a long time to come out. So now the fact that I get to see my favorite story ever actually come to big movies is pretty cool.
You also, every comic, right? Silver Surfer.
Well, Silver Surfer technically was in the Infinity Gauntlet, Varun. He's the one that comes to the planet and warns Doctor Strange that Thanos is there.
Wow.
Hand up back there, just near you actually. There we go.
Hi.
Hey.
You mentioned Harry Potter. What Hogwarts house would your character be in? And how about yourself? And maybe for the other characters too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, this house thing is a very touchy issue with me, because Tim Rozon predicted what house I was going to be in, and it was the house I did not want to be in, which was Slytherin. Okay. Should we be proud of this, though?
I'm a Hufflepuff.
Jeremy, I think, would be in Ravenclaw. Yes.
Jeremy's a Hufflepuff.
Is everyone just a Hufflepuff?
What about Waverly?
Oh.
I would put Wynonna's the toughest one, because as much as you think it's as simple as Gryffindor, it might be Slytherin. I honestly, I think that, and as for Bobo's complicated too, because as much as I would say Bobo's a Slytherin, Actually, it might be a Hufflepuff.
Everybody in Hufflepuff.
Which is strange.
But also, just letting you know, he's 4 for 4 in predicting people's houses.
Oh, I'm very good at it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would give Way Hot the same house.
Yeah.
Different and everything, and I know you'd think I was going to say Hufflepuff, but Gryffindor. I would say I could put Way Hot in Gryffindor quicker than I could put Wynonna Earp in Gryffindor, because Slytherin might come a knocking. Final answer.
Yeah.
Greg Lawson, Hufflepuff. Rosita Hufflepuff. No, Rosita's not Hufflepuff.
What would Doc be? Slytherin. One of us. One of us.
I concur.
That's a great question. We've got time for probably 1, 2 more questions. So we got you near there again.
Hello. Speaking of favorites, who's your favorite Avenger? And there's only one correct answer.
Favorite what? Sorry?
Your favorite Avenger. Tim can answer it if he wants to. Because he has one, probably.
You know who I really ended up liking? Thanos, and he's not even
He's
an
not
Avenger.
an Avenger.
I know. But I liked him the most out of everybody.
Me too. I'm Team Thanos.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and Spider-Man, obviously. Yeah, I love Spider-Man.
When you say Avengers, do you mean the original Avengers or the new Avengers? The original Avengers? It's tough to beat the Hulk. But I gotta say, after Thor Ragnarok, the movie, I might like Thor. I thought they did Thor super serious at first, and I was like, yeah, he looks great, and I'm like, he's super cool. But now that he's funny, I kind of really like Thor all of a sudden. You know, and he kicks a lot of ass. He's pretty good. I know you want me to say Iron Man, but I'm not going to.
We're all over Iron Man, aren't we? A bit?
Captain America. Just see what that was. I'm probably in the wrong fandom. Right, we have one final question down here at the front. Who's going to make it?
Hiya, sorry, another Avengers question, I'm afraid, for Tim. Obviously you said you're a huge Avengers fan, but seeing the films, I mean, I only noticed this the other day, but was it surreal seeing Dominique in Age of Ultron? Because I was watching it, and I never even noticed it was her until I read the cast list afterwards.
Yeah, well, it's great. I love to hear the stories of her experience on that. It's incredible life experience she had filming that movie. Because I do know the other parts where you don't see it's Dominique, but I do know now that it is Dominique, which is super cool too, because she's doing some really cool scenes. Yeah, I got a super huge kick out of it, probably more than her. The moment that was the most surreal to me was my first experience at San Diego Comic-Con was like, I was so overwhelmed, like all my nerd was on high alert, like I was, what's happening, amazing, oh my god, what's happening, and then we're walking through the hallway, and Joss Whedon stops us and goes, Dominique? And I'm like, what just happened? And she's like, how the fuck are you? And then I'm like, what is happening? And they're literally chilling, talking for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, all right, this is happening, this is real, this is where we're at in our lives. So that was my coolest Avenger moment, was watching Dom talk to him.
One last question. We've got time for one last question. So if you're brave enough to make it a really good one, and you've got your hand up. Yeah, own it.
Hi. So I was just wondering, because we've heard a lot about like how extreme the weather can get in Calgary, and there was a funny BTS video of Kat struggling to get through the snow. I'm just wondering, is there any other like stories like that where the weather's like had to make you rework a scene or something?
Oh, the weather in Calgary. He never complains about it, but it makes it for a very challenging shoot. Like, I don't know, it must have been really hard for you guys on the cliff. That day was one of the coldest days in Calgary history, and you had to do that stuff there. He never complains, he's not going to tell you anything.
I like it. I like it. I honestly feel that especially when I watch the show, that the weather is a character. It's like, it makes sense. You know, there was like that scene where there's the cannibal lady in the pit that Wynonna and dolls are looking for. Do you remember what episode? Season 2? Season 1? 2? Season 1? They're on the hunt for the cannibal lady, and you can just see these epic shots of like the two of them super small in this super white, and I'm like, that's dangerous where they're at. And it just brings like a level of danger to the show that I think it adds to the show. And on the same time, yeah, it sucks for us, but it sucks more for the crew.
Yeah.
And they don't say nothing. You know what I mean? Like, we do our scene and then they huddle us off in these giant blankets. I'm not saying it's easy, but then these giant blankets can keep us warm. The crew's still out there, man, waiting. And like, I'm not gonna complain. And they kill it, and it looks amazing.
The crazy part about acting too is the minute they call action, you forget about the cold. Like, you're just so in the zone of whatever you're doing that you don't care. Like when he had to run out in episode 1 barefoot, because he was like hyping himself up, he's like, okay, and he runs out and it's just like nothing, you know? And so it's like that kind of thing really, it's a challenge to overcome, and it makes you better for it.
It's funny, him and I have had this conversation multiple times. Like, I think my favorite life moments now are between action and cut.
Yeah.
Something very magical happens to you where nothing can, I mean, it can hurt me if my character's hurt in that scene. If I'm hurt physically, I'm hurt. If I'm hurt emotionally, I'm hurt. Like, nothing can happen to me. I'm not scared unless my character is. It's like, it's just this defense thing comes. Like, I've been buried alive, I've been drowned, and like in the moment of action and cut, I'm not scared. As soon as they say cut, I'm like, holy shit, I'm in the water. But between action and cut, there's something happens I can't explain, and it's this magical little moment that we get, just these little 2-minute parts of my life where I'm totally gone.
But you know what's the best part of Wynonna specifically? Every one of us feel that way. So like when we look into each other's eyes, as cheesy as that sounds, it's like, it's a moment of complete surrender into everything that you're doing, and this world fades. Not what people think, not what you're doing, not what kind of action happens. You're just like, I am here, I am running from a demon, and I don't care. Like, it's just, it's that, and it's such an intense and a beautiful experience. I love that we get to share that. It's amazing.
Even like we're doing a scene, even if it's like the most emotional scene that I'm doing with Mel, like that scene where she won't let me in the house. There's a camera guy right next to her like this. He's gone. Yeah. He's there the whole time as we're setting up the scene, and we rehearse and then we say action, and I'm in Wynonna. I'm just Mel and I'm sad, and this guy's gone. The camera's gone. The 10 people standing behind him, they don't exist. All that exists is Homestead, and I want to get in the house, and she's mad at me, and it hurts inside. And it's just there. And then they say cut, and it's like, there he is again. And there's everybody. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
shit,
then you're
okay.
making jokes
then
after.
I'm in the way. I'm sorry. It's so weird to have these little pockets of just surrender. It's beautiful.
Well, I'm sorry that we have to cut this panel now. I'm sorry, that was a really bad joke as well. But we have run out of time, but this has been so awesome to talk to you, and thank you all for your amazing questions, but most of all, thank Tim.
Thank you guys, thank you so much for coming out to see us this morning. Thank you. We met last year, do you remember?